August 2, 2017. Trump counterattack begins. No one knows who will survive. A chilling new Ministry of Foreign Affairs MoFA report circulating in the Kremlin today states that the American capital city of Washington, D.C. is in the midst of a brutal death watch as President Donald Trump's counterattack against his deep state enemies begins with no one knowing who is going to survive. Note some words and/or phrases appearing in quotes in this report are English-language approximations of Russian words, phrases having no exact counterpart. According to this report, in shock over Trump's impending victory in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, Obama-Clinton forces combined to create a plot to destroy him using Russia as the scapegoat, but whose diabolical plan to do so was revealed to Trump by Obama's National Security Agency NSA Director Admiral Michael Rogers, who on November 17, 2016, just 8 days after the election, unprecedentedly rushed to New York City to meet with Trump and tell him of this plot, with all of Obama's top intelligence officials, afterward, calling for Admiral Rogers to be fired. Knowing that Trump knew of the plot against him, this report continues, President Obama, however, was unable to fire Admiral Rogers so as give him the appearance of being separate from this deep state overthrow plot against an American president, and since leaving office has mainly spent his time outside of the United States. Interestingly, this report details the motivations underlying the Obama-Clinton deep state plot to overthrow President Trump lies in the perverse practice of top American intelligence, foreign ministry and military officials leaving government service to take multi-million-dollar positions in private companies, all of whom live extravagant lifestyles unable to be paid for by their U.S. government pensions, and that President Trump had vowed to destroy. With Trump knowing of what the deep state had planned for him, this report explains, he prepared his defense by using the tactics laid out in an ancient Chinese military treatise dating from the 5th century BC, and attributed to the ancient Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu, called The Art of War, and placed as his two top defenders Steve Bannon, White House chief strategist and a longtime devotee to the art of war, and James Mad Dog Mattis, who is Trump's Secretary of Defense and whose art of war strategies revolutionized modern warfighting. In President Trump's knowing that it would take several months before he could counterattack against deep state enemies, this report continues, his Trumpian forces employed the art of war tactic of making things appear chaotic to confuse the enemy, and that has worked as designed, as the deep state-aligned mainstream fake news media has devoured any low-hanging fruit that they could jump on to make Trump look bad, but like a Machiavellian genius, Trump has used to his own advantage. One example of Trump's success in employing his art of war strategy to confuse his deep state enemies, this report details, was his, Trump's, over the past fortnight seeming to publicly attack and disparage his Department of Justice Attorney General Jeff Sessions, and whom the deep state-aligned mainstream fake news media rushed to the immediate defense of, thus preventing the deep state from being able to then attack Attorney General Sessions this Friday, 4 August, when he begins Trump's deep state counterattack by announcing his criminal prosecutions against former Obama-Clinton high officials. Most feared by the deep state in President Trump's counterattack against them, this report says, is the unraveling of the true facts regarding how the Democratic Party emails were given to WikiLeaks, and that many experts assert cost Hillary Clinton the election, and that the Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Seymour Hersh has just revealed in an explosive audio that the FBI investigation proves were given to WikiLeaks by Democratic Party data analyst Seth Rich. Even worse for Trump's deep state enemies, this report notes, is that just hours prior to Seth Rich being mysteriously murdered after his leaking the Democratic Party emails to WikiLeaks, he had met with Imran Awan at a Washington, D.C. bar, with Imran Awan currently being under arrest by FBI forces loyal to President Trump and who is, also, still rapidly selling off his U.S. properties and moving money to Pakistan. Imran Awan, this report explains, was employed by U.S. Democratic Party Congresswoman and former head of the Democratic Party Debbie Wasserman Schultz since 2005 and who had recently obtained a nearly $300,000 loan from the Congressional Federal Credit Union to buy a house with, but while pretending to be his wife, instead, had this money sent to two individuals in Pakistan. Imran Awan and his family members, this report continues, were mysteriously given access to all of the United States Congress computer systems by Congressman Wasserman Schultz, and though barred from having anything to do with them, was still employed by her until his 24 July arrest. Most to be feared about Imran Awan, this report notes, is that he had access to the emails of every single member of the U.S. Congress and sold that information to persons unknown, with his now, also, being mysteriously defended by Chris Gowan, who is one of the most expensive attorneys in America, a founding partner at Gowan, Rhodes, Winograd and Silva, and over the course of multiple years worked in the Clinton White House, helping President Bill Clinton write his book, My Life, and served on Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign, and whose U.S. attorney prosecuting his case is Stephen Wasserman, who conveniently happens to be Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz's brother. As to why one of the most expensive lawyers in America associated with the Clintons is defending Imran Awan, this report continues, is but one of the mysterious surrounding this Pakistani, including why Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz hired him and his family in the first place, as all of them had been low-wage menial workers prior to taking their jobs in the U.S. Congress, but, since 2005, they're, also, being paid over $4 million. But to one of the greatest crimes attributed to Imran Awan, this report says, was the one he committed on June 14, 2017, when he redirected the elite U.S. Capitol Police SWAT team to protect the waterfront Washington, D.C. mansion of Democratic Party Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi instead of their going to a baseball field where several top Republican Party lawmakers were under a sustained attack by Democratic Party-aligned gunmen. Just a few weeks before Imran Awan redirected the U.S. Capitol Police SWAT team away from protecting the Republican lawmakers under a deadly attack, this report further notes, his boss, Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz, had, also, openly threatened U.S. Capitol Police Chief Matthew Verderosa for gathering evidence on Imran Awan and his family's crimes. With deep state operatives FBI General Counsel James A. Baker, top Obama aide Ben Rhodes, Obama's National Security Advisor Susan Rice, and Obama's UN Ambassador Samantha Powers now being among those targeted for their leaking crimes by Attorney General Jeff Sessions, this report concludes, a brutal death watch atmosphere has descended upon Washington, D.C. with no one knowing who is going to survive but everyone knowing that should President Trump's counterattack succeed, the Democratic Party, along with the Clintons and Obamas, will be destroyed forever.